You want to publish a book, but you've heard about indie publishing, you've heard about traditional publishing, and you're like, wait, what's the difference and what should I do with my book? Today, we're going to talk about indie versus traditional publishing. I'm going to tell you the long and the short of it because that's really the biggest difference. So first, I'm going to give you 3 questions that you should ask yourself to help you decide which path is best for you. And then I'm going to talk about 2 other things. So first of all, what is your vision for your book? Do you imagine your book on the bookshelves of every Barnes & Noble, every indie bookstore? Do you picture yourself on a talk show promoting your book, doing book signings across the country? Is that your vision for your book? Or are you just like, this is just a really good book. It needs to reach people and I just want to get it out there. What's your vision for your book? Yeah, it'd be nice if it was in bookstores, but really you just want it to be available to people. So, hey, Amazon, everyone can get that, right? So, what do you want for your book? If you're looking for the big screen success, you might want to think about traditional publishing. That's not a guarantee that you'll have that big screen success where you're doing signings and all that stuff. But that's something that's more likely to happen with a traditional publisher because they have all the connections to get your book in front of the right people who will promote it, and therefore it could possibly go bigger. But I'll just let you know that only 1 in 100 books published traditionally sells more than 1,000 copies. So that's some pretty small odds. I guess I should say 1 in 100 books not published by a well-known name. Okay, so if you're just the average person like me, the likelihood of you selling more than 1,000 books is very unlikely, whether you're traditional or indie published. Okay, so the next question you need to ask yourself is, how much time do you have to invest in this project? And how much money do you have to invest in this project? Because if you've got lots of time, but you've got no money, you might want to look at traditional publishing because traditional publishers pay you. That's right. It never costs you a cent to publish with a traditional publisher. They pay you. Most big houses, although there aren't many of those left, give you an advance and pay you royalties, a small amount. But smaller indie publishers, a lot of them pay only in royalties or give a much smaller advance, but they still never charge you for anything, okay? But the time element, if you're gonna traditionally publish, it can take from 6 months to 2 years from the time your publisher gets the book before it goes to print. The bigger the publisher, the longer it's gonna take. Makes no sense, does it? They've got this huge staff. Why can't they turn this out? Because they also have a lot of red tape. So if you have no money, but you have lots of time, then a traditional publishing might be the route for you. As far as indie publishing, then you can get that done a lot quicker, okay? So, but it's gonna cost you because everything that the publisher does for you, editing, creating a cover, formatting the interior, all that stuff, you have to come up with the money to pay for all of that. And let me tell you, if you want to produce a professional book, you want to make sure that you pay professionals to do those things for you so that the quality of your product looks the same as what a traditional publisher puts out. And the third thing is, how are you about organizing this whole publishing process? Because it is a process. Because if you decide to indie publish, you are in charge of organizing all of it. So let me just step out here, and I was going to define these terms first, and I didn't. So a lot of people go, oh, indie publishing, that means I was with a small indie publisher. No. Indie publishing is independent publishing. It means you independently of anyone else published your book. That's what indie publishing means. That is the truest definition of that. So you go, wait, isn't that the same as self-publishing? To some people, it is. But the thing about self-publishing is that most people, when they self-publish, they go through a vanity press. They don't do all the same checkpoints as what a publisher does. An indie author, an indie published author does. It's their dream to have a professional product. So they do go through all the checkpoints, but that means they have to organize it. You have to find and contract a great cover designer. You have to find and contract an editor who knows what they're doing and is going to make your writing sing. You have to locate a book formatter. You have to understand the different platforms for uploading your book yourself. You have to decide, okay, am I buying an ISBN number or am I not? Am I going to pay to have my book on Ingram Spark because then bookstores might pick it up? Or am I not going to do that because I don't want to pay? I want to just be able to upload it. So you have to be able to be a business person and to organize all those things. Or again, it's costing you money. So you could hire someone to do all that stuff for you. So that's what I want to talk about next. So I'm going to take a moment to speak about hybrid publishers. Now, you might hear of hybrid authors, and that's not the same thing. Okay, so a hybrid publisher is a publisher that traditionally publishes books, but when they offer a contract to an author, they also expect payment. They do not pay for the editing, the publicist, the cover, the formatting, all that stuff. They expect the author to pay for all that. But they have done the work of hiring a professional team. They will, figure out the launch schedule. They have a book publicist that you work with that will help you figure out how to launch your book. So hopefully it will be successful and get into the hands of a lot of people, but they require you to pay. Okay. So indie published, I publish it myself. I pay for everything and I have to figure out who everyone is. Traditional publisher, I send it to a publisher who pays me money and I never pay them anything. Or hybrid. The publisher still decides, they have a choice to, do they want to publish it or not? And then the contract between us is me giving them money. Now, the benefit that some people see to hybrid is that it takes all that organization piece off their plate. But it's going to cost you money, and it's going to cost you more money than if you found those contractors yourself, if you found the editor, if you found the formatter and cover designer yourself. So it's going to cost you in the thousands of dollars to publish with a hybrid publisher. At the end of it, though, you have kept all of your rights to your manuscript, whereas when you traditionally publish, you sign away, usually at least first, print and digital rights. You may also sell foreign rights at that time, depends on the contract that you negotiate. But with a hybrid publisher, you're contracting for services, not for the rights of your book. At the end of the time when your book is released, you own full rights for it. You get all the royalties because you've already paid for the services up front. So you get to keep all the royalties, same as you would when you independently published. And that's why it's considered hybrid, because there are some parts of it that are like independent publishing and some that are more like the traditional model. Okay, so now the other thing I wanted to talk about is marketing. It doesn't matter, my friend, if you go indie or you go traditional. Book marketing, it's up to you. If you have a traditional publisher, yes, they have a publicity department. Yes, they will put together a launch plan for you. Yes, they have connections to maybe get you some book signings and yada, yada, okay? But they are still going to expect you to have a website, have a social media presence, have an email list that you can send out information about the launch, have a launch team. You know, a lot of times the traditional publisher, yes, they will handle the emailing of all the copies to the launch team and whatever, but they're going to expect you to have it. Endorsements, getting a famous author to read your book and plug it. They're going to expect you to do that as well. So a lot of that marketing stuff, then you go, oh, okay, I just want to write the book, so I'll have a traditional publisher, so I don't have to do any of that. Well, you won't have to run ads on Amazon and figure out that stuff, but you're still going to have to do a lot of the book marketing, even if you're traditionally published. So if the fact that you can just write a book and do nothing else is why you want to be traditionally published, I need you to stop right now and realize that that's just not the case. There are going to be marketing things that your traditional publisher expects you to do as well. So, should you independently publish your book, or should you find a traditional publisher? I would say that if you have a nonfiction book idea that will sell, traditional might be the way to go, as long as that meets your vision for the book. You have lots of time to wait for this to actually make it to market, and you're not one of those control freaks who wants to say this is what my cover's going to be, who wants to have all the say in everything. Because if you have a traditional publisher, you don't have a lot of say in a lot of things. If you're writing fiction, you go either way. It's getting harder and harder to get traditional publishers for fiction because there's so many people writing it, and there's so few publishers publishing it. So I hope that I have given you the long and short of indie publishing versus traditional publishing, and that you're a little more clear now on which way you're going to take your book, well, once you finish writing it. So let's get to that, my friend, because your story matters.